About 48 hours ago, I was sitting in a little restaurant in a little town with about 20,000 people, having dinner with some customers, excuse me. This country was attacked by the conquistadores in 1516, and the state was formed in 1828 after a 500-day war between Brazil and Argentina. And the Spanish was trying to stop the invasion or the movement of Brazil and the Portuguese south. And so they created this buffer zone which became Uruguay. Why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant to me in terms of globalization, and it's relevant to me in terms of a question that I asked the customers, and I said, what relevance has Spain got to Uruguay now? You became independent in 1828. And they said, not a lot really. We speak Spanish. Economically speaking, Uruguay exports about 80% of its, 80% of Uruguayan exports are agricultural, and less than 10% of that goes to Spain. So I've got a question today. The themes I'm going to be talking about are really around curiosity and relevance, and I'd like to talk about Compac in terms of the curiosity, and I'd like to talk about the Spanish conquest as a metaphor for going global and what happens if you're no longer relevant to your consumers. And looking at the Spanish, I realise there's a business model that the Spanish failed in that I hope Compac doesn't. And I want to raise that as a question too this afternoon. The Spanish were pretty feral if you go back about 2,000 years, fighting amongst themselves, fighting amongst the other Europeans, but eventually they decided to conquer the globe and export their culture. They touched down in different places around the world with an imperial strategy similar to the Romans, the British, and now the North Americans. Let's tell them what's good for them. It works for a while. Eventually they get smart though and figure, hey, these people know a little bit more about their country than we do, so let's go down the colonial route. Let's actually integrate with the locals, which is a good gig if you can pull it off. However, it doesn't really deliver the ultimate value. The ultimate value comes from a federal thought, and not many conquering nations have got this one figured. But how do those places that we touch down on work together where the total is more than the sum of the parts? And that's something we're working very hard at Compac to achieve. So today I want to share with you the journey so far at Compac, which is about how do we improve productivity and yield for our customers. And what's the geopolitics of being a global player like Compac, and how do we learn so we don't fail like the Spanish? Any Spaniards here today? Whew. It's like you didn't watch for arrows in my back a little later. So what do Compac do? I suspect we may well have some Compac customers here today. If there is, could you put your hand up? A smattering. Thank you very much for being here today, and thank you for listening to our story. So our customers sort a whole bunch of things, largely a little bit smaller or larger than your fist. Apple, kiwi fruit, citrus and stone fruit would be our dominant produce sorted in our systems all over the world. So about 5% of our turnover is generated within New Zealand, about 95% around the rest of the world. And we have a range of technologies from simple weight only through to looking at the colour, the shape and the weight, adding in blemish, inspecting the fruit, excluding the stem and calyx, and then the Rolls-Royce product, the Vision 9000, which also looks at the stem and calyx area for defects, with a whole bunch of parameters that are inspected on the fruit, from weight right the way through to looking inside the fruit and seeing what's going on in terms of defects and sugar levels and water levels, and density and colour inside the fruit. All this at 10 fruit per second on a high-speed moving conveyor. The combination of the external parameters and the internal testing is really what creates value for our customers, and able to grade things like water core breakdown, bricks and also combining that with colour and size and weight creates around about 400 combinations of ways to grade a piece of fresh produce. Compact was started by a bunch of curious guys. The founder, Hamish Kennedy, in his graduation year at Auckland Engineering School needed an electronic project to work with. He was sitting packing kiwi fruit in his mother's orchard in Kerikeri one summer, thinking there's got to be a better way than this mechanical sorter here. So he combined his love of electronics and his mother's love of kiwi fruit and built his first kiwi fruit sorter. That was then, and where are we now? We have 3,500 lanes installed around the world. The most recent sale we've made is to a very, very high quality research horticultural institution in the USA who want to use this technology to help them